Don't chew on that, Max.
Cooper loves that chew too.
Oh, now he's into Cooper's food. Wow, he is loving it. What do you feed Cooper?
Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula. He never leaves a crumb. I love it because it's made with high-quality protein, nutrient-rich fruits and veggies, and wholesome whole grains.
Looks like we're switching to Blue.
Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
For a limited time at McDonald's, get a Big Mac Extra Value Meal for $8. That means 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, and medium fries, and a drink. We may need to change that jingle.
Prices and participation may vary.
At Starbucks, we offer full and part-time baristas 100% upfront college tuition coverage, which means they can thrive at our company and in class. At Starbucks, benefits like college tuition coverage are just the start.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, guys. Hope you had a nice weekend. I'm ready to start talking about Terry Rozier and the gambling stories from last week. That was quite a story that happened, right?
Maze. The devil works overtime.
I don't. I clock off. Friday's done.
Yeah.
Pick up Monday morning.
Yeah, what'd I miss?
I'm severed employee over here, Basketball Illuminati. I don't leave the podcast studio. I was ready to talk about Terry Rozier. Why? Did something happen?
Yeah. The devil works overtime, as I said. And where a gambling scandal, I don't know if it's a scandal if it happened like almost 2 years ago when the guy played for another team. But any hint of a scandal, Adam Silver pushes that red button, hits the lever, and then the NBA conversation machine starts churning up. And it's a huge machine. It's the size of a wall. It's got all types of blinking lights and gauges and dials. And at the end, on computer paper, it prints out and they rip it off. And what does it say? Trade Luka to the Lakers.
What?
Yeah, that happened.
What the hell?
Yeah, Saturday night.
Most people were shocked, Maze. They're absolutely floored. Luka Doncic to Lakers. Who would even made that connection? There were no rumors or whispers or anything. But one little podcast had hacked that big wall computer from the 50s and had gotten that printout years in advance, 2 years to be exact. And the name of that podcast is Basketball Illuminati, Basketball Illuminati, Basketball Illuminati. Say it 3 times. Keep a third eye open. You don't need to clip it, right? Everyone knows.
The Illumination knew. The Illumination had heard the prophecy of LeBron and Luka. The All-Star draft was trying to tell people that this was already done, that LeBron was going to play with Luka Doncic.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone outside of the Basketball Illuminati, everyone outside of the Illumination had their third eye closed. But we tried to tell y'all. We tried to tell everyone, if they're willing, if they're curious, if they don't take the mainstream media at face value, they can see what is going to happen. They thought, Giannis Antetokounmpo just really likes Damian Lillard. That's why he drafted Damian Lillard first in his All-Star draft. Oh, LeBron just happens to like Anthony Davis a lot. Anthony Davis, he's not really coming to the Lakers, that LeBron isn't going to have Rich Paul represent Anthony Davis. And then suddenly the Pelicans are like, sure, we'll trade you Anthony Davis. They go win a championship. Mm-hmm. This continues to happen. So LeBron picks in 2023 Luka again, for the 3rd year in a row, just as we predicted here on Basketball Illuminati, because the stars were aligning.
Yes, they were.
That LeBron wants Luka so bad, he's willing to tell the world about it. And what did the NBA do last year? Maze, remind me, was it a draft again?
No, it was not. Adam Silver flipped it up.
They got rid of the draft.
Changed the format.
Back to basketball, right? East versus West.
It's about basketball. But what was it really about, Tom?
They didn't want people to know that it was already decided that Luka Doncic was going to move his way over to the Lakerland.
Tom, it's bigger than that, right? I told you guys, we hacked their computer, that big wall computer from the 50s with the dials and the knobs and the gauges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got that printout 2 years ago. We announced it to the world 2 years ago. The NBA said, wait a second, there's a back door into our information mainframe over here, Hub. We got to shut that back door down. And that's what they did. They got rid of the draft so that we would no longer know the future scripts for 2026, 2027. Hell, maybe we would have known about Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox last year if that door was still open, Tom.
Yeah.
They're trying to suffocate our means. But you know what's special about being a member of the Illumination, about being someone whose third eye is always open? There isn't just one method. Takes us some digging. They shut down our one gateway. We're going to find another gateway because that's what we do. We bring the truth to the people.
My assignment: uncover why the association inspires more conspiracy theories in volume and salience than any other U.S. sport.
You've heard of the Illuminati.
The truth is out there, but so are lies.
Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them.
The NBA has always been controlled by about 8 people.
Denial is the most predictable of all human responses.
If you're only using 10% of your brain, you don't even know that you're using 10% of your brain.
The NBA Illuminati.
If coincidences are just coincidences, why do they feel so contrived?
The Illuminati.
But you start to follow the money, and you don't know where the f*** it's going to take you.
It is unspoken. They have influence among other players.
The NBA Illuminati.
I don't have time for your convenient ignorance.
Maybe I'm a conspiracist now as well.
That's all it took. Oh, we got books, we got schools. You saw a video on YouTube.
Why my eyes, sir? You've never used them before.
We are the basketball Illuminati.
This is Basketball Illuminati. I am Tom Haberstroh, and as always, I am joined by the 5-star Illuminati generals, Amin Elhassan and producer Anthony Mays.
Members of the Illumination can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/countthedings. You can also show your support by wearing a third eye hat or a Basketball Illuminati shirt or hoodie. Check out the link in the show notes or go to the Count the Dings store on Cotton Bureau and keep that third eye open.
Thank you for keeping your third eye open, and thank you for spreading the word, the gospel, the script that we were trying to give y'all about what really is going on in the NBA and what will happen in the NBA. The Luka trade, to all the new listeners, is just the beginning. We're going to keep you informed about the truth behind the scenes and what will happen going forward. We will one day get to the Terry Rozier story that was buried beneath the Luka Doncic trade for Anthony Davis, beneath the De'Aaron Fox 3-way trade with Chicago and Sacramento, beneath the Jimmy Butler speculation and trade saga. We will also get to our truth teller interview later today. Marcus Elliott, the founder of P3, Peak Performance in Santa Barbara, California.
Where?
Which is what?
Santa Barbara, California.
Did I say Santa Barbara? Santa Barbara, California, which is the hub of biomechanics, player health, all of the screening that a lot of NBA players do.
You're going to get it one of these days.
Barbara Bush.
Santa Barbara. Sound it out. Sound out all the syllables there.
Santa Barbara.
There you go.
Santa Barbara?
St. Babs.
St. Babby. From the shores of the Santa Barbara beaches, we are going to bring you Marcus Elliott to talk about the player health initiative by the NBA and what we're going to do about all these star players getting hurt. And the Luka Doncic trade, at the core of it, was a lot of player health concerns. We'll talk to Marcus later, but first.
You are listening to The Agenda with Amin Elhassan and Tom Haberstroh.
For those people out there who are wondering, how could this trade possibly go through without anyone knowing? No one finding out. Not Luka, not AD. The circle of trust was so small. How could this possibly happen? Well, there's a larger story that might be at play. We'll get into that later with a Dallas lawyer whose post went viral, Chris Kratovil. Millions of people have seen it. It's caused quite a stir. We're going to actually talk to him later about his theory about how the trade involving Luka Doncic could be a larger ploy. But the answer to the question of how could this possibly not have gotten out, that it totally surprised everyone, including LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Luka, well, it all traces back to a relationship that was bonded over Kobe Bryant.
You have achieved success at success, but have you achieved success at success at success?
Ramona Shelburne and Tim McMahon reporting on ESPN.com starts like this. Walk into one of the 7 Ascension coffee shops in Dallas, and there are tall glass towers that baristas use to make the upscale cafe's signature Japanese iced drip coffee. It takes 12 hours for the water to filter through before a barista hits the coffee with a dose of nitrogen and pours it in a cup. On the morning of January 7th, Dallas Mavericks general manager Nico Harrison invited Lakers general manager Rob Pelinka to the Ascension Coffee in the lobby of the Hotel Crescent Court, just a mile from American Airlines Arena, to begin a similarly arduous, delicate trade conversation that would jolt the rest of the NBA.
Get it? It's like coffee. You know what's funny about that intro? As descriptive and well-written as it is, I'm wondering who wrote it. Was it Ramona or was it Tim? My money's on Ramona.
Yeah.
Tim's never struck me as an eloquent man.
I don't think Tim is breaking down the process of a Japanese cold brew machine.
I disagree. He's the baddest dude in all the land. A real Texan notices those things.
Texas blood is thick as mud, like the coffee at the 7-Eleven that he picks it up from every morning.
There you go. I would have much more believed it if it was about 7-Eleven coffee.
He's Van McMahon, he's the baddest dude in all the land. He got Texas blood as thick as mud, he's Van McMahon.
Yeah!
Howdy, partners.
Ramona's asking him all these questions like, Tim, what's the coffee scene like? Where are the coffee shops? He's like, I don't know. I got my big brew. Got a refill from the diner on the way over here. Tom, that wasn't the first time they've had coffee together.
What was the first time, Maze?
I would assume that it had to have been sometime in the last 22 years since they both represented Kobe Bryant after a Nike deal in the summer of 2003.
Yes.
They're both young, ambitious executives trying to make a name for themselves in the competitive space surrounding the NBA. Rob Pelinka left Arn Tellum's company, like Jerry Maguire, to sign Kobe Bryant. Meanwhile, Nico Harrison closed the deal for Nike when Kobe Bryant's wearing all different types of shoes. He's a shoe free agent.
And
then apparently they traveled the world together on joint family vacations, became members of an inner circle together, starting 22 years ago. Guarantee you there was some coffee in that time.
This can't make Dallas fans feel any better. Is that Nico Harrison was so close with Rob Pelinka, the GM of the Lakers, that he felt like the only person I could call is one guy, is the guy that I was working with for years to make Kobe Bryant into a huge star and solidify our relationship together. Maybe he's the only one I can trust with such a sensitive topic, which is trading Luka. And they kind of talked about this in the press conference, Nico Harrison.
And I'd like to give Rob Pelinka a lot of credit. You know, trades, you guys have been around here, trades don't happen at the smallest level without stuff getting out. And Rob and I were able to have, you know, really intense conversations over the course of, 3-4 weeks that started out as a coffee that, was more, hey, would you ever... I don't know. Would I? Let me think of, and then it built upon that. And, we kept it between us. We had to keep it tight.
Who said, hey, would you ever?
Yeah.
Hey, would you blow me?
No.
Is Rob Pelinka saying, hey, would you ever trade Luka? Or is Nico Harrison saying, hey, would you ever take Luka?
It's take Luka.
Take Luka.
That's it.
The reporting has been confirmed. You know what it reminds me of? Oh, both of you guys are young. Have either of you guys seen the movie War Games?
Mm-hmm.
So you remember Matthew Broderick is in high school, but he's like a hacker. This is before hackers were a thing. And he hacks into NORAD's defense computer that's supposed to completely automate nuke launches, right? He gets caught, and then the computer calls him back and says, we haven't finished our game. And so when they arrest him, he says, Joshua called me. The name of the computer is Joshua. They're like, what? Yeah, your computer called me. I didn't do anything. That's what Rob Pelinka's doing. Rob Pelinka's Matthew Broderick in War Games, and he's like, hey, Nico called me, which makes me remember one of the funniest tweets I saw throughout this entire last 3 or 4 days. And I'll paraphrase because I don't have it in front of you. The guy says something to the effect of, the Knicks spend years carefully getting their ducks in a row and acquiring picks, making shrewd signings, trying to build up in order to acquire a superstar. And meanwhile, the Lakers just get a phone call. Hey, do you guys want Luka? It's Lakers exceptionalism at its finest.
Maybe my favorite part of that press conference. There's a lot of favorite parts of this press conference. Is out the get-go, he's like, hey, Rob Pelinka, got to give him a lot of credit. You traded Luka. He's 25, 5-time first-team All-NBA. Just went to the finals, and you're crediting the other guy for executing such a good deal and keeping it close to the vest. That's incredible. And here comes Kurt Goldsberry on the Bill Simmons podcast saying that the original deal was actually with Dalton Connect and multiple picks going to the Mavs, but it got whittled down. The only way that gets whittled down is if Rob Pelinka would be the one, hey, listen, man, we're taking on. How much does he weigh now, Luka?
270. That's what they say.
I saw that video after the conference finals, drinking that beer, trying to drink that. I don't know, man, if I can really take that guy on. You know what? It's a no-go. Dalton Connect, no. Those first, it's going to have to be just Anthony Davis, Max Christie. And you know what? Not the 31. It's going to be the 29. It's just going to be one of them.
Do you guys know how many players in NBA history have been 5-time All-NBA players?
It's not a lot.
Is it a handful?
Total, 83. So assuming he gets to one more and he gets to 6 All-NBA, probably won't be this year because he's missed some time. 47 have been 6-time All-NBA. Less than 50 players in the history of this game has seen 5,000 players play it, have been 6-time All-NBA selections. I would ask you how many of them, of those 6-timers, are Hall of Famers. I'm going to assume you guys can guess.
All of them.
Every single last one of them.
I've got one better for you. 5 first-team All-NBA through age 25.
None.
It's 3 players. Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan. That's the list. 3 guys in NBA history who have accumulated this many first-team All-NBA is Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant.
There are 28 players, including Luka Doncic, who have been 5-time first-team All-NBA. You guessed it. Every single one of them ahead of them is either a Hall of Famer or is going to be in the Hall of Fame. There's a couple of active guys, Durant, Giannis, Harden, and LeBron, obviously. So to say that we got this guy at this stage of the career, it's not hyperbole to call this wholly unprecedented. Just trading him. Forget about trading him for 1 million picks. Forget about trading him for like 17 guys that'll be all-stars or whatever. Or even for a guy who's top 75 all time in Anthony Davis. This guy does not get traded. You said 2 others?
There's 2 others. It's Kobe, Tim Duncan, and Luka Doncic. LeBron James didn't even get to there.
So Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant, how many teams did they each play for? Probably like 4 or 5, right?
No.
Well, those guys had short careers though, right? Like they only played like a handful of seasons. How many seasons did they play?
No.
15 for Tim Duncan and 15 for Kobe Bryant. Oh, that's 15 All-NBA seasons. Excuse me.
Oh, excuse you.
Oh, yeah.
Kobe played 20 and Tim Duncan played how many? 19. So not only players like this don't really exist, when they do exist, they don't get traded and they stay with their franchises forever and ever, and forever is a long-ass time. The idea that Luka Doncic got dealt, and mind you, I can look at some of these other names on this list of All-NBA Titans. LeBron James left via free agency. We all know the deal. We all saw the breadcrumbs. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar demanded to be traded. Karl Malone, his entire career except for his last year. Shaquille O'Neal demanded to be traded. Bob Cousy, his entire career. Julius Erving, not counting the ABA stuff, his entire career. Dirk Nowitzki, his entire career. Hakeem Olajuwon, At the very end left. Dolph Shays, doesn't matter. It was a million years ago. Jerry West, his entire career. Charles Barkley demanded to be traded. Kevin Durant demanded to be traded unless by free agency. Havlicek, his entire career. Michael Jordan, pretty much his entire career other than the last 2 years. The point I'm making is none of those guys were like, I got traded. They either demanded to leave or they never left.
I'm going to make a correction on my own factoid. I'm going back and I'm realizing it's not Kobe Bryant. It's actually Kevin Durant. So it's Kevin Durant, Tim Duncan, and Luka Doncic.
Well, you just ruined my fucking point.
I know. I just ruined my own. All of it is destroyed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry they're frustrated, but it's something that we believe in as an organization. It's going to make us better. Defense wins championships, and we're bringing in one of the best two-way players in the league. If you pair him with Kyrie and the rest of the guys, he fits right along with our time frame to win now and win in the future. And the future to me is 3-4 years from now. The future 10 years from now, I don't know. I don't think they probably bury me and Jay by then, or we bury ourselves.
Yes. You can't get too cute. Nico, you got cute. You can't get to the point where I'm going to break up with Halle Berry before Halle Berry breaks up with me. You know what? Halle Berry's going to dump my ass. You just got to accept it. Or maybe you guys are going to live happily ever after. But I'm not going to dump Halle Berry. There is no cosmic benefits to doing it first. Now, Nico might say, I didn't dump Halle Berry because I was worried she was going to dump me. I dumped Halle Berry because I thought she was gaining a bunch of weight.
No. We're not doing that.
No.
We're not doing that.
Amin's analogy corner. Yeah.
I want to point out the reason why we talk about agents so much on this podcast. Why we need to understand Mark Bartelstein is the father of Josh Bartelstein, who runs the Phoenix Suns, who hired Matt Tellem, who is the son of Aaron Tellem, who runs the Detroit Pistons, because it all comes back. These relationships are so instrumental to how the NBA works. Why did the Dallas Mavericks trade Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers? Well, because they were agents back in the day for Kobe. It comes down to that. A lot of this is because of agents who are power brokering behind the scenes, but also those relationships that were bonded over players. They might come back 10 years later and create one of the most shocking trades ever. Doesn't justify it, but you have to understand it.
Tom, think about it. There's a reason Kevin Garnett got traded to the Celtics. The only way the Celtics were in the conversation to begin with was because of the relationship between Danny Ainge and Kevin McHale. Now, originally, Kevin Garnett wasn't going to go there because he said, you guys don't have enough. I'm not just going to go join this 15-win team and be in the same situation, albeit in the East. So the third team in that triangle was going to be the Phoenix Suns. What's the connection there? Danny Ainge, connection with Phoenix, relationship there with their front office. Danny Ainge, relationship with Kevin McHale. And that's your deal until Sean Marion's agent, Dan Fagan, rest his soul, says, I ain't with it. If my client doesn't get a max extension on top of this trade, then he's going to opt out and he's going to leave. Danny Ainge says, I can't do this deal. Let's trade all my young guys and get someone who's going to walk. And so he pulls out. Deal falls apart. Danny Ainge says, hold on, Kevin McHale. Before you trade Kevin Garnett to the Lakers or somewhere else, give me a second. And bing, bang, boom, goes and gets Ray Allen. And now what do you think, KG? And KG says, okay, and the rest is history. But again, highlight those relationships behind the scenes. This is not fantasy sports or 2K where you just enter it into the trade machine. If it works, they say yes or no, whatever. There is definitely a level of comfort, particularly when you are trying to maintain what? Secrecy, that this isn't going to get out.
Secrets.
Yeah, I want to ask about that secrecy because speaking of Danny Ainge, he also did not know that Luka was getting traded, even though he was a part of the trade and was acquiring second-round picks. He didn't find out till 30 minutes before it went down. But Nico wanted to keep it secret. Let's say that we understand Nico getting to the point where he wants to get rid of Luka for all of his reasons. He likes Anthony Davis. He wants a defensive player. He thinks Luka is either going to not sign the Supermax or is going to be a problem on the Supermax. We've gotten to that point. That's the sunk cost. Do you agree with the Nate Jones assertion that putting Luka out there on the market hurts your chances to trade Luka?
I don't think it hurts your chances to trade Luka so much as it hurts any possibility of you being able to move on with life as normal if you don't get the deal that you're looking for. You got one shot to deal this guy. You don't get to say, my bad. All right, we're good though here. That is a massive, massive fracture in the relationship. Once you take that step, you got to go. And so what you cannot have is rumors out there getting back to the kid. You got to find the places that have what you're looking for. For Nico Harrison, it was pretty clear what he wanted. He wanted someone who brought an elite defensive presence, and he wanted someone who was excellent offensively.
And someone who he had a relationship with at Nike.
Maybe that's part of it, because there was a second team, Maze. There was a second team that they talked to that instantly said no.
I've seen conflicting reports on that, including from Nico Harrison in the press conference.
Did you have discussions with any other teams besides the Lakers about this deal?
No, and I'd like to give Rob Pelinka a lot of credit.
Well, Nico in the press conference says no because he wants to make it seem like, hey, man, I always got my guy. It's my guy. It's the only guy I wanted.
The Japanese coffee together. Yeah.
To make it seem like there were other offers out there, opens the Pandora's box with what was the other deal, and then allows people to say, oh, shit, you guys really fucked up. So you nip it in the bud. You say, it's just the only people we're talking to. But the reports are pretty clear. The reporting is clear from Chris Haynes and from other reputable people that there was a second shooter on the grassy knoll.
Is this a Dallas joke? Or
This is absolutely a Dallas joke, buddy. Wow. What do you think we're doing here? It's called Basketball Illuminati. It's not called Basketball Two Eyes Open.
Basketball guys talking hoops.
I asked Chris Haynes directly. I said, who was the other team? Chris Haynes said he wasn't at liberty to tell me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to guess based on this list of criteria that Nico Harrison was looking for. I looked around the league, and there really was only one name I could think of who was also going to be available. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I was going to go with Bradley Beal, but okay, go ahead.
Giannis Antetokounmpo is the only other name that you can factor in along Anthony Davis. Now, you're like, oh yeah, but he always wanted this guy that he had a relationship through Nike. It was Anthony Davis. What kind of sneaker does Giannis Antetokounmpo wear?
Nike.
There are no mistakes, no coincidences.
Which was the name of our episode that we called this shit 2 fucking years ago. Eat our dick, internet. We did that shit first.
Why do you have to do that?
Because the internet should be lining up with napkins, knives, and forks, mustard, ketchup, relish, salt, pepper on the table, ready to devour our proverbial podcasting dicks.
I'm devouring the press conference is what I'm doing. The Nico Harrison press conference.
Nico, what was the conversation like with Patrick Dumont when you introduced this idea to him?
The first time he laughed at me.
He laughed. What kind of laugh do you think this was? An evil laugh? Mwah, ha, 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 ha.
No.
Nervous laugh.
Was it a... Really?
No. It's a rich person's... You know, it's like, Maze, you could clip it here. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson.
Are you serious?
That's how you know it's a great deal, when your owner laughs at you.
Is it possible that there's a non-basketball reason for all of this? And I'm not talking about, oh, Luka's out of shape or whatever. I'm talking about the players are irrelevant. That this thing rises to a level beyond the actual individuals getting traded. We are all pawns in a massive, massive billionaire's chess game.
Man, what could be bigger? What's bigger than the 30 teams in the NBA? And then it hit me. Maybe we're thinking about this all wrong, is that the NBA is trying to expand to 2 different markets, Las Vegas and Seattle. Maybe there's something bigger that we hadn't really considered, that we need to be thinking about the gambling aspect, the Vegas aspect, the relocation aspect. And you know what? Someone's been connecting the dots this whole time. We didn't know about this member of the Illumination until this past weekend. We reached out to a Dallas lawyer named Chris Kratovil, posted on social media his idea of what really went down. And we're going to talk to him right now here on Basketball Illuminati. As far as I can tell, it is the first time that he has talked publicly in an interview.
Listener, listen up. This is important, okay? I'm going to try to save you some money here. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. You may think like, oh, that's bad. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. Here's why I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for $15 a month. You heard that correctly. $15 per month. Ditch overpriced wireless and the jaw-dropping monthly bills. And of course, there are all these hidden fees and stuff, but at Mint Mobile, plans start at $15 per month. All the plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text. You're not doing like weekend and nighttime minutes or anything like that. And it's delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone. Don't have to get a new phone. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. I switched months ago. People have asked, did you actually switch? Yes, I actually switched months ago, and I don't know what to do with all this extra money. I've cheated the system here. I've rigged something. This is an Ocean's 11 situation where I'm stealing wireless from Mint. That's how good a deal it is. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/dings. That's DINGS. That's mintmobile.com/dings. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
Hello, listener. It's Producer Maze here to talk to you about Quince and their cookware. Cooler nights mean cozy meals at home, and Quince's cookware has made fall cooking so much more enjoyable. Their pieces deliver the quality and performance of luxury brands, but at a price that makes sense. And they look gorgeous on the stovetop, too. No matter what item you need to complete your kitchen, Quince has you covered. With 5-ply stainless steel pots and pans, nonstick skillets, chef-quality knives, and even ceramic bakeware, which is perfect for cozy casseroles or Sunday roasts. And when you look at these prices, you might think, how is Quince doing this? How do they deliver high-quality items similar to high-end brands that are half the price? Well, let me tell you, they partner directly with ethical top-tier factories to cut out the middlemen and pass the savings on to you. And it's not just cookware. I got myself some bath sheets. That's right. When you're a tall man, you have to use bath sheets, not bath towels from Quince. It's like drying off with a cloud. It's incredible. Upgrade your kitchen for cozy fall meals with premium cookware from Quince. Go to quince.com/dings for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/dings, DINGS, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dings. Hello, listener. It's Producer Maze here to talk to you about Kindred. Now, close your eyes like Owen Wilson during a job interview and imagine a way to travel that feels personal, comfortable, and connected without the price tags and the sterile feelings of hotels or short-term rentals. Now open your eyes and stop using your imagination because Kindred has made it very real. That's exactly what they do. Kindred is a members-only home swapping network. It's not a hotel. It's not a short-term rental. It's a smarter way to travel where each stay feels like home. Here's how it works. With Kindred, your home is your ticket. You earn credits by hosting fellow Kindred members, and then you use those credits to stay in over 220,000 homes in more than 100 cities worldwide. There are no hotel costs or rental fees, just the credits that you've earned. Every stay comes with white glove service, 24/7 trip support, and $100,000 in host protection. Make it easier for you to travel and enjoy yourself and not worry about details. I've used Kindred and I found an amazing home for a weekend getaway in an idyllic location with amazing views and great ambiance. It had everything I needed. And the best part was, it cost me $0. So apply now at livekindred.com and use code DINGS to join for free. Plus, you'll earn 5 nights of travel credit just for signing up. That's right, that's 5 whole nights for free at livekindred, KINDRED.com, code DINGS, DINGS, livekindred.com, code DINGS.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
Chris Kratovil from Dallas, at a time when I think we're all searching for answers about the Luka Doncic trade. We're basketball analysts. You know, our day job is trying to figure out the basketball reasons why a certain team would trade their 25-year-old superstar. And a lot of us are kind of grasping at straws trying to figure this thing out. And then comes across my timeline from Adam Lowy on X, says, sharing this A+ analysis on the Luka trade by the always insightful Chris Kratovil makes a ton of sense to me from the Texas legislature angle, especially considering Lieutenant Patrick likely done next session. Good stuff, read it. And then there's 15 premises, as you call it, 15 paragraphs or points that you hit of what's really going on here, Chris. And so first of all, thanks for joining us on Basketball Illuminati. And second, my question is, what prompted you to lay this all out on social media?
Yeah, so I got the news, as I guess most of America did, about 11:30 Saturday night as I was going to bed. And I was just shocked. I had the same reaction that Mavs fans and NBA fans all over the country had. Like, what is this? This doesn't make sense. And didn't sleep much on Saturday night, Sunday morning. And so when I got up and got going on Sunday, I just sort of thought through this. And if it's not about basketball, it's about something else. So what else could it be? So question one is this really a basketball move? Well, with the exception of maybe Charles Barkley, I haven't seen any serious analyst who says this was a rational basketball move from the Mavericks perspective. And let me be clear, I'm not mad at the Lakers. I don't have anything against the Lakers. They're just doing what any team in their position should do. If somebody gives you a gift, accept it. So I was looking at this really through a Mavericks lens. And if it doesn't make any sense as a basketball move, and I don't believe it does, and again, outside of Sir Charles, virtually no one seems to believe that it does, I wanted to go a little deeper. And there hadn't been much talk about the Mavericks' new ownership. You know, for years, we were lucky here in Dallas to have Mark Cuban as our owner or governor, if you prefer that terminology. And Cuban, whatever his flaws may have been, he loved the Mavs. He had been a fan. He was passionate about the team. He was passionate about winning. Sometimes that passion maybe got in the way of winning, but on the whole, he was, you know, a team first, fan first owner, and it wasn't just a business for him. In fact, I think it was more of a passion project than it was a business. Now, Cuban is now a 27% minority shareholder, and in Texas, minority shareholders don't have a lot of rights. Don't have any control. So who is making the decisions now? Well, it's the Adelson Dumont family, one of the wealthiest families in America, the owners of the Sands Casino Corporation, one of the foremost gambling interests in the entire country. And they have been upfront since day one about what they want. They don't care much about basketball. They care about bringing a resort destination casino to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And they've actually bought 108 acres of land around the old Texas Stadium site in the Dallas suburb of Irving to do exactly that. So they've already got the land where they want this facility to go. And they've talked about it. You've heard the phrase, the Venetian Dallas, thrown around.
Because they own the Venetian resort in Las Vegas.
That's right. And the Venetian Macau in China. So, I mean, this is a powerful, gambling company. And Texas is the largest untapped market for casino gambling, or really any form of gambling in the country. There's 30 million people who live in Texas. And other than our state lottery and charity bingo, there's no legal gambling here, right? There's no DraftKings, there's no FanDuel, there's certainly no casinos, and there's certainly not the Venetian Dallas yet. And that's going to take action from the Texas legislature. And the Texas legislature is a little weird. It's not a full-time legislature. It meets for 4 months, once every other year.
Pretty good gig if you can get it, it seems like to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And a lot of influence as well. But the Sands Corporation, the Adelson family, has for the last several Texas legislative sessions, even before they owned the Mavericks, really fought to get gambling approved in Texas. And that just hasn't happened. And they've tried everything they can from a positive point of view. They are literally the largest donors to the Texas governor, Greg Abbott. They are among the largest donors to key members of the Texas House and the Texas Senate. They have hired the very best lobbyists in our state capital of Austin, dozens of high quality lobbyists, session after session. They have spent tens of millions of dollars to try to get gambling approved in the state of Texas so they can move forward with this ambitious plan to build a huge resort casino with the new Mavs arena at its heart, at its center, because the American Airlines Center is an aging facility. It's 25 years old now, and the lease expires in 2031, which is, in real estate terms, construction terms, is not very far away. And the lifespan on these facilities isn't what it used to be, right? The 30-year lifespan on a facility is about right. And so the Mavs, and this was, Cuban said this before he sold the team, and the Adelsons have been very upfront about it since buying the team. They want a new arena no later than 2031, and they want that arena to be part of a destination casino. But they need the legislature to act.
Chris, why do you think the legislature has been slow to react, given how much investment they put into it? And then also, the Adelson family is I think if you had to put them on the political spectrum, they are ultra conservative. And these kinds of efforts we've seen across the country in other red states have been largely successful. Why have they encountered so much opposition?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. A couple of reasons. One, our lieutenant governor, who is the president of our Senate, and is a very powerful state political figure. His name's Dan Patrick, not to be confused with Patrick Dumont, who's part of the Adelson family, but Dan Patrick, our lieutenant governor, is adamantly against it. And he has the power to keep a bill from even coming up for a vote in the Texas Senate. And then second, there is kind of an unusual alliance of very conservative members who are just against gambling on principle. A lot of, sort of evangelical Christians, Baptists, people who think gambling is objectively evil, combined with one of the other big political players in the state and donors are the Indian casinos up in Oklahoma, Choctaw and Windstar, which is run by the Cherokee tribe. So one of the largest casinos in the country outside of Vegas is in the obscure little town of Thackerville, Oklahoma, which has nothing going for it except it's the first town you get over the Red River into Oklahoma. So the Oklahoma casinos want to shut it down. The Baptists and evangelical right-wingers want to shut it down. The lieutenant governor wants to shut it down, and they just haven't been able to get a bill through. And when the carrot fails, you got to turn to the stick. And so what is the stick the Adelson family has to swing? Well, I think it's going to look like in the next legislative session, 2027, maybe even 2029, because again, we're talking about a 2031 deadline to get this done. They're going to say, you give us what we want. You give us approval for a casino in the Dallas area, or we're taking the team to Las Vegas. And I think that's a pretty good threat. That's where the Adelson family is based. That's where Sands Casino is based. Vegas is one of the largest markets in the country without an NBA franchise. And obviously they've had great success in Vegas, first with the Golden Knights as an NHL expansion team, and now with the Raiders and the A's both relocating from Oakland. And Vegas wants an NBA team. And I think the Adelsons would, if not like to give it to them, at least like the threat of giving it to them to leverage what they want from the Texas leadership.
That's what I wanted to get with you on, Chris, because a skeptic might look at it and say, hey, Chris, they sold the Venetian. They sold all of their Vegas properties. In fact, the only casinos that the Sands company owns now are all in China and Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
The leverage of going back to Las Vegas actually isn't as strong as it would have been had they still had a foothold there, because now you're re-entering a saturated market of casinos. Like the whole point of them selling their casinos in order to buy an NBA team was because they wanted to be first to market. And as you said, the largest non-gambling population we have in the country. If that fails, in essence, doesn't that gamble fail because they can't go back to Vegas? Then they got to fight everybody else.
I don't think they actually want to move to Vegas, because you're right. They would much rather have a monopoly on casino gaming here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and maybe all of Texas than be one of many in Vegas. So what they really want is the threat of a move to Vegas, a credible threat of a move to Vegas, not the reality of a move to Vegas. So I think if they wanted to, they could re-enter the Vegas market. The company is still based there. Again, we're dealing with some of the richest people on the planet. Yeah. We're dealing with not billionaires, we're dealing with super billionaires here. You know, a Bezos, Gates, Musk level of wealth, maybe just one half notch below that. So this is serious money. And if they want to be in Vegas, they can be. But I think they want the threat of Vegas and the reality of a monopoly on casino gaming in Dallas-Fort Worth. And so what, in my view, they traded Luka for was not for Anthony Davis and a single first-round pick. They traded Luka for a credible threat in 2027 or maybe 2029 of moving to Vegas.
Man, because the way you lay it out, I don't think you expected that as of the time of this recording, that post has gotten 3 million views and thousands of reposts. What has your life been like over the past 24 hours and hearing from all these people who I guess didn't realize the dynamics of the Texas legislature and the Venetian Dallas and where it was when it fits this entire Luka trade scenario as a backdrop?
Well, first of all, I'm grateful to my good friend and UT law school classmate, Adam Lowy, for sharing this, because it's through Adam that this caught fire and went viral. I just kind of wrote it up for my friends and my, the few dozen fellow passionate Mavericks fans that I kind of associate with. Certainly with Adam's tweet, it's gone far and wide. I think as of this taping, there's 2.8 million views of the thing on X, which is, kind of intimidating to me. It hasn't changed my life. I'm at work. You guys can see I'm just doing my lawyer thing here in Dallas, but I am grateful that it's gotten out there, because I think there were a lot of people on Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, asking the same question I was, which is, what's really going on here? And I was able to put together a plausible, speculative, but plausible explanation for that. And maybe that gives some people some comfort. And I think in any event, it's a better explanation than anything we've heard from the Mavericks organization.
Chris, I want to ask you, do you think that the leverage play will work? Do you think that the Texas legislation will respond to this threat of moving the team and of the team's value plummeting?
It's hard to say. Texas politics are complicated and nuanced, but I think it's a pretty damn good threat if it's credible. If it had been made this year in the 2025 legislative session, it would not have been credible. Mavs just went to the finals. Every game is sold out. They just got a new TV deal. They're riding high. Right? Or they were until 36 hours ago. Teams that are riding high don't relocate. Teams that have some issues with attendance, with ratings, with broadcast rights, those are the kind of teams that can relocate. And if what I think happens now that we're starting, 3 over 30 players with Kai, with Clay, and now with AD, all of whom are great players, but are on the bad side of 30. I mean, it would be the 2018, 2019 NBA All-Star team. Unfortunately, we're living here in 2025. So by the time we get to 2027, certainly by the time we get to 2029, those guys are going to be gone. They're going to be retired. And the Mavs might be a credible candidate to move at that point. I think it is a good threat. politicians worry about angering their constituents, I can't think of anything that would make people more angry than a beloved sports franchise leaving town. I mean, that's the sort of thing that can scar a fan base for life. And I think most politicians would do everything in their power to avoid having that happen.
Can you give us a state of the fandom of the Dallas Mavericks? Like, what is the city responding? And you mentioned that they've lost, I think in your manifesto, it said like they've lost 500,000 or something like that followers on Instagram. You're tracking this, obviously. What is the state of affairs there?
I appreciate the question. Just as you can see, I've got downtown Dallas behind me. I'm sitting in my office. I've never seen a fan base so angry. The happiest man in the world right now is Jerry Jones because he's no longer the most hated man in Dallas. And suddenly hiring Ryan Schottenheimer looks like a genius GM. So, like, people were angry a week and a half ago about the mess the Cowboys are and making what most folks perceive as a bad hire with Brian Schottenheimer. All of that is forgotten. This is a level of anger I have never seen out of a Dallas fan base. Anger, like the headline in the Dallas Morning News this morning was "Luka was ours," and I think that's the way he was homegrown. He came here as a teenager. He became a man here. He got married. He had a kid. He's been in America for 7 years. All 7 of those years in Dallas. He was our guy. He was Dirk Part 2. The city embraced him. The city loved him. And then at 11:30, one random Saturday night, he's gone without any warning. People are heartbroken. They're angry. I wouldn't want to be Nico Harrison right now. He's going to be booed for the rest of his time in Dallas.
Well, Chris, thank you for joining us and sharing your perspective on this and laying out the theory that you've plausibly laid out for everybody that there's something larger going on here that people outside of Dallas or Texas might not be aware of. So thanks for sharing your viewpoint, sharing your time, and if you want to bill us for your time.
Pro bono. He already told us it's pro bono.
This one's on the house, and appreciate your time. And I'll just end by saying, I really hope I'm wrong about this one. I'd love to be wrong about this one. And this was just a abysmally stupid trade, and everybody moves on with their life, and the franchise is here for another 50 years. I hope that's the case.
Chris, it could be like the producers, right? Where they try to sabotage it and they end up winning the championship, and now they can't leave, right?
Hey, banners fly forever. If AD coming to town delivers a championship, I think there'll be a lot of forgiveness for Nico Harrison. Anything short of that, and he's not going to be a popular man in this town ever.
Well, you're a popular man amongst the basketball illumination here, our audience here. Appreciates you bringing your thoughts here to the program. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Jif peanut butter. It's that jiffing good, it doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. Jif. Ooh, it's that jiffing good. Get your Jif at Jif.com.
Welcome to Sephora. I'm looking for a perfume that's not too perfumey.
I got you.
Serum moisturizer or moisturizer serum.
Let's get into layering.
My concealer is making me look worse.
Sounds like the wrong shade. Let's get you matched.
There's only one store that really gets what you're going for. Get beauty from people who get beauty. Only at Sephora.
Hi, let's get you a basket.
Whether your business has 6 floors or 6 employees, Walmart Business has everything you need to save time, money, and hassle. You can restock your break room with bulk ordering or bulk up your ordering team with shared payments. And you can get it all delivered straight to your business's door, whether that's on Wall Street or Main Street. Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love, now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
You all think I'm late. Well, I'm not late. And I'm going to stay right here and fight for this lost cause, even if this room gets filled with lies like these. And the Taylors and all their armies come marching into this place. Somebody will listen to me.
There's no better way to overpower a trickle of doubt than with a flood of naked truth.
But the complexity and the gray lie not in the truth, but what you do with the truth once you have it.
What is true and right is true and right for all.
You and I both know that that's just not the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Too messy. Keeps them up night.
I'm here because in the end, the truth is worth the risk.
Speak a little truth and people lose their minds.
I'm a grown man, you can tell me the truth.
Why is it people who want the truth never believe it when they hear it?
So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something really outrageous. I'm going to tell the truth.
Marcus, can you help me here? I'm saying Santa Barbara. Is that wrong? They're making fun of me with how I'm pronouncing Santa Barbara.
He said it right this time.
He said it right this time.
For the trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded good to me.
Earlier, he called it Santa Baba.
No, I didn't. That's ridiculous. Marcus Elliott, P3 founder, director, P3 Peak Performance Project, based in Santa Barbara, California. He joins us. Thank you so much for hopping on, Marcus. This is your second time through Basketball Illuminati. Marcus, thanks for coming back on with us.
Good to be here, man. Thanks for all you guys taking your time.
So we wanted to have you on to talk about this new initiative, this news story that the NBA has launched a league-wide biomechanics program, and it's got P3's hands written all over it. You're being brought in as a consultant to the program, and it feels like this is kind of the one of the central issues of the NBA.
Tom, this is a massive news story that went by like as a blip. A sports business journal kind of just little article, but it really wasn't covered. But I think this is as big, if not a bigger deal than the optical tracking being installed in every arena.
If you're equating it to the optical tracking, I'm going to say we would have fallen really short. You know, if you end up being right about that, then I think that this league-wide biomechanics initiative would have fallen way short of its potential. Like it should have a lot bigger impact than getting a little bit more insight into defensive closeouts. I mean, what is the problem with the NBA right now that comes up over and over is so many games, hard for guys to play hard every night, like they're being asked to do, and survive, right? And it's one of the reasons I'm so interested in the NBA. I think you guys know it, or at least I've told Tom at some point. But I started in the NFL, and then we worked in Major League Baseball. And now put a lot of our energy into basketball. But one of the reasons I'm most interested in it is that the load that these guys are being expected to endure is very close to what the human body can endure. And so when they have some mechanical issues, when they have some asymmetries, when they have compensation patterns, when they have things that we can identify, they usually don't survive. And so what are you going to do about that? You know, everyone says you can play less games. At least we hear that as a regular buzz, but it doesn't seem like they're playing less games. And so we got to be better at identifying when these systems are a little bit out of balance, when they're a little bit out of whack. And so to your point, I mean, if this ends up being as valuable as a little more insight on a player's gravity or on his ability to close out threes, then we would have failed, because it should be way more important than that. And I think you guys know this, but we've been assessing players at the NBA Combine for 10 years now, and this program was sort of born out. I mean, more than a little bit, it was born out the NBA sitting alongside us while they let us do our thing there, and us making predictions about things that were going to happen. And then together we get to sit back and see how much of those things happen. And I know that the league officials were hoping that the teams in the league would act on this more granular data and this more granular player assessment on their own a little more aggressively. And at some point they said, look, there's too much value here. We need to come in and help these teams do this. And so that's where that announcement came from.
Yeah. And the 4 companies that won the league's RFP, basically they went out and said, this is what we want to do. And these 4 companies are going to be going along in this initiative: Qualisys, Thea Markerless, Burtech, Breakaway Data. And you guys are going to help run this program where it's like, you're all coming together with this common cause of trying to understand the way that players move, the way their biomechanics move in space, their loads, the force plates, all of it. We want a more complete picture of not just how they are, but how to predict what they will be, and kind of track that longitudinally. And there's 4 teams that are going to be part of this pilot program. The Cavs, Jazz, Pacers, and Suns are going to have these like biomechanics labs in their practice facilities to help gather some of this information. Players, I think, Marcus, you were one of the first people to really push this, is that the players need this data. The players want to be educated. And when they switch teams, it shouldn't be that, like, if a team gets traded from team A to team B or team A has all the information, then when that player goes to team B, suddenly they don't have that information that team A collected. And it seems backwards that the players should be having all of this knowledge at their disposal to make better decisions about their careers.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, our position, traditionally we operate as if we only work for the players. That is it. Like, we're going to get information about a player's body, and we have to figure out how to make that player's life better. That's been our moral call. We repeat that all the time in our facility. When you get into these team initiatives, these league-wide initiatives, it gets a little more complicated. Because it's the owners of the teams that are paying for this. The league is paying for this. But I have some confidence that if it's managed right, this is one of those spaces where getting better, getting more insight, having better outcomes benefits everyone. So the way that it's managed will largely determine how successful it is. I'm gonna back up a step too, Tom. I mean, the reason we're doing this is because there's a huge value in understanding granular athlete movement, how athletes land, what kind of rotation they have across their foot when they're going into a second jump, etc. Understanding how athletes move allows us to predict what they're going to be good at, what they're going to be bad at, and where they're at risk for injury. There's a strong relationship between how you move and what happens to you. And this is what we've been exposing and operating on for a couple of decades now. And like I said, the league is able to sit next to us in this combine initiative. And they also see that, I think we have almost 70% of the current players have been through one of our facilities. 69% of current NBA players, rostered players, have been through a P3 facility and been assessed. And so they see that the players are interested. The players are showing up at P3 and paying, thousands of dollars to get assessed, to get a program, figuring out how to get to Santa Barbara, or whatever you call it, Tom, however you pronounce it. And now that same information should be available inside the 4 walls of their facility. Like, if this doesn't go great, then, we screwed up. The league screwed up. We as a partner screwed up. Somewhere along the line, we screwed up, because there's a strong relationship between how you move and what happens to you. And if we can bring that information to bear on how we program for players, how we build players, how we set a roadmap for a player to have a 15-year career, if we can't make the world better with that information when it's available to every one of these players and teams, then we really messed up. It is a big initiative, though. Like, nothing like this has ever happened in pro sports. Not in the EPL, not in the NFL. Nobody's really taken on anything close to this from a sports science initiative standpoint. So I applaud the NBA for being willing to innovate and take a big swing.
Marcus, you said earlier that you hope that I'm right when I say this is a bigger thing, but you feel like we're actually falling short, at least in the current incarnation. What would hit the mark look like to you, and how are they falling short of hitting that mark?
So, I mean, the way we think about this sport is that, I mean, even over the time that we've been really involved in the NBA, which is the last 15 years, these athlete systems have changed markedly. Like these athletes are way faster. They're way more ballistic than they were 15 years ago. Our NBA bigs do so many things that our NBA bigs from 15 years ago couldn't do. This game, these systems that are coming into this league are incredibly explosive, incredibly ballistic, super high force, big acceleration systems. And the game is being played in this open space now. The demands on the body is so hard from these Ferraris that come into the league. So that's really the challenge. That's how the game has shifted. That's what the guys from the 90s don't get. The player from the 90s. Where is it falling short? I mean, I think like when we got involved in the NBA, all pro sports, honestly, they weren't that interested in player development. They weren't that interested in strength and conditioning. There's some of it that goes on, but the guys that run those programs rarely sit at the main table. You know, they're not in there having discussions with the GM on a regular basis. They were, I don't want to say they were afterthoughts. There were certainly some really good people applying their trade, but the teams just didn't value it that much. You know, all these executives, they're not interested in like strength and conditioning or performance. I mean, they're interested in basketball or football. You know, that's how they got into this stuff. And so this is a little bit off on the side. You know, it's kind of out in the garage. And so in the beginning, most of these, like when I started in pro sports, there wasn't a job in pro sports that would allow me to pay off my medical school education. You know, nobody could give me a job in the space that I was working in that would allow me to support myself. Nowhere in pro sports.
Yeah.
So these guys weren't very valued. There wasn't a lot of emphasis on player protection, player development, player strength. And then the league in the NBA, they started saying, well, this stuff is important. We got a lot of players getting hurt. We're paying these players a lot of money. You know, we should invest more there. So the staff started getting big. The salary started going up. But that doesn't entirely solve the problem.
Marcus, we just watched a GM for the Dallas Mavericks say, hey, we weren't so sure about the Supermax, or at least, I don't know if he said it this way, but Luka Doncic, 25 years old, 5-time All-NBA. There's only 3 players in NBA history who have done that. And they were worried maybe potentially that $350 million was going to be too much money for that, given some things. And you read between the lines, and they weren't totally sure that Luka Doncic was going to be healthy enough, that he wasn't serious about his body, etc., whatever you want to read into it. But there were concerns about giving this guy the Supermax contract, which, as I've written, he is the most qualified guy ever to have the Supermax extension on the table. There's no other player who's been more qualified for it than Luka Doncic in the Supermax era. And yet the fans are all wondering, like, wait, is Luka Doncic's body going to hold up? It doesn't seem like it. Maybe Nico Harrison's right. And I keep thinking, we don't know. Like, there's so much uncertainty that we could possibly entertain the idea that maybe Luka Doncic at 25 years old could be a bad investment to give him the Supermax contract. And it just reminds me that we are so early on understanding these bodies if we're not able to ascertain whether Luka Doncic is worth the Supermax contract.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is super germane. It also gets to the point I had earlier about how this type of information should make for a better world for everyone. You know, if Luka knows what his risk factors are, he knows where his mechanical issues are, where his mechanical pathologies are, and he's working against those, I have 100% confidence that he has a better chance of staying whole. I also can envision a world where those decisions are being made because people have better information about their players and they know that they're not going to stay healthy. Meaning the information in the players' hands through the team can help the players stay healthy. But, sometimes we assess athletes right after they sign big contracts and we say, wow, that was a wasted $80 million. Or there's no way they're going to get their $160 million out of this guy. He's a shell of what he was when we assessed him 3 years ago. So those are the slippery slopes, of working inside an organization. But I have a lot of confidence that having better information on the table is going to help us take better care of these $350 million, maybe $350 million players. We're headed towards $500 million contracts, right?
Just big money, man.
Yeah. Huge money. Huge money. So what goes into these labs that they're going to be creating, these 4 test labs with those 4 teams that Tom mentioned, and then eventually expanding to entire league? What actually goes in and what are we measuring?
Yeah. So, in the last CBA, it was negotiated because they were anticipating this activation that the players would be mandated to assess 4 times a year, have these granular biomechanical assessments that P3 has been doing for 15 years. So it's already written in the CBA that the players are mandated to do the assessments. And as Tom said, they've already installed labs in 4 different teams, biomechanics labs. The other groups that are represented on there, Tom, as being part of this initiative, they're providing hardware or they're providing the reports or the processing, but not really where the rubber meets the road. They're more on the back end side. Like Qualisys connects motion capture systems, camera systems, and Thea does processing. And the other group, Breakaway, will generate the reports to do the software side. These labs have gone in 4 facilities, and now they're rolling out in all the other facilities. The intention is to have 30 labs across 30 teams by this next September, by the start of this next year. So training camp, we're able to get these athletes in, run them through an assessment battery, and collect all this information about how their bodies move, how their bodies work. And to get a little more granular, there's going to be a league-wide initiative with certain tests being run, certain assessment battery. And then there's going to be a P3 assessment that's also offered to the teams. That the teams can license from P3. And starting off in the league-wide initiative, there's no data in the system. So we need to get data before we can get to the insights. So we start off with no data or data context. It'll be a very simple context. We assess your starting point guard, and we can compare him to the first assessment we've done on 29 other starting point guards. But it takes a while before this data is connected to things that really matter.
Right.
You need a lot of data and you need some historical reference before you can start connecting it with injuries, before you can connect it to performance advantages. And so it will start off with a small amount of value to the teams, and that value will grow. As long as the program is run well, the value will grow every year. Fortunately, with the P3 reports being generated alongside the league-wide initiative, they're going to have our historical data, of 1,200 NBA athletes over the last 14 years or so. And all of our insights are already baked in. You're worried about ankle injuries in your perimeter players. These are the movement patterns that are associated with ankle injuries. And these are the 2 guys of all your 3D players. These are the 2 guys that have the highest risk of ankle injury because of this metric and this metric. And so you can action against it. So if you're collecting all this information, really granular information on how these bodies work when they land, when they jump, when they cut, and you're indexing that against things that matter, against being an elite perimeter defender or risk of traumatic knee injury, you're essentially exposing the physics of the sport and connecting it to things that matter as a basketball player or as an organization. And then you action those signals before you have bad outcomes. before the guy that you're trying to get to be your shutdown perimeter defender gets out there and gets toasted in space, you should know that he doesn't have the physics to be a perimeter defender. So that's a reality. You were talking about Luka a minute ago. You got to be a dog to defend, but there is physics that are going to govern whether or not that being a dog is actually going to be effective. That's just the truth.
When we get those measurements and we get those readings, I have to imagine that for some portion of the population, that is adjustable, meaning physically this guy doesn't have any of the characteristics, but there are things that he could do, range of motion and other types of specific kind of targeted trainings that we can do that can get him to that place.
Yes. So you're asking the right questions. It's kind of impressive if you can collect information and predict who's going to have bad outcomes, but that's not very satisfying. It's much more satisfying to collect information, be able to predict outcomes, and then change those outcomes. And so, the way we think about this is every system in the body is plastic. Everything can be changed. Some of those things change very, very slowly. And when it comes to things like acceleration potential, everyone has predetermined ceilings. It's not a limitless pursuit that you can keep pushing the ceiling up and up and up. So some of these things can be changed a whole lot. Some of them can be changed a little. Some of them change very quickly. Some of them change very slowly. But without question, to have these metrics, these signals that are important for being healthy or for being an elite player in some environment on the floor, makes for a better league. At least having this information available makes for a better league.
Yeah, Marcus, you've been collecting this data at the Combine since 2014 in conjunction with the NBA, going to Chicago and setting up these labs and assessing some of these players. What have we learned?
I think the most important bottom line is the one I led with, and that's that how these athletes move today has significant impact on what happens to them tomorrow. Whether their risk of injury, their ability to play in different areas, their ability to stay in the league for a long time. You've seen some of our clustering, right? First off, it's amazing to me that we have data on 70% of the current players. We've taken this in one sport, and we work in all these sports, but in this sport, over 2/3 of the best players in the league have come to us and let us assess them to try to make their lives better. That's pretty amazing. And so I'm so thankful for that. And I feel like we've done a good job of maintaining that trust. I don't feel like we've never have we assessed a player and not, and has it made his life worse? Let me say that. Almost always we'll get some insight that'll give them a chance to have a better outcome. And a lot of times it's been game changing, but never does it lead to a worse situation for them. We've been very careful about how we manage that information and where it goes and how we represent it. And because of that, we end up with 2/3 of the league. And I think that, the proof and the value is that the league is going to take on this really big project. This is a hard project for a league to take on. There's so many pitfalls here. There's so many ways this can go wrong. And they don't need to. The league's doing okay. They got some pretty good TV deals going and stuff. But give them credit. They want to be proactive here. They want to be better here. And by looking over our shoulder for a decade, they're like, it's time. We got to go do this. And so, now we'll go get an at bat with it.
All right, Marcus, let's get into the fun part. You mentioned making predictions, having guys get assessed and then making predictions. The one that I guess our listeners would be most familiar with is the one that Tom referenced at the beginning, that Luka Doncic has elite level deceleration. Only James Harden was the only guy that came close as far as testing. So what are some other predictions that you made from testing someone and then you saw it bear out in action?
Oh man, there's so many. So on the positive side, I can tell you, like, we're getting ready to do NBA pre-draft here, which is really a fun time of year for me, because we're going to see all these 19-year-old kids, and, a couple 20, a couple 21-year-olds, but a lot of 19-year-old kids show up that are not much older than my son, who's a 17-year-old senior in high school, and they're getting ready to go try to be NBA players. And these are just kids, and we're gonna see some guys that have a chance to make $1 billion or more in their careers, from these kids. And every year from those draft classes, there's a couple guys. We always pick our sleepers. We always have a couple sleepers. They're guys that we think are under the radar for whatever reason, and our data loves them. And we're like, the physics on this guy are going to be overwhelming. Like, there's no way that his physics are going to lose, and people don't know that yet. One guy I'm enjoying watching right now is Jalen Williams.
I was just going to say, J-Dub. Yeah.
Did I talk about him to you, Tom, before the draft?
No.
Okay, I did to Henry, because Henry was out at the combine. He wanted to know who
Henry
our favorite guy.
Hoop. Yep.
Yeah, he wanted to know who our favorite under the radar guy was in that draft, and he was thought to be a late second round pick when we got him, and he had amazing metrics, amazing. He could do everything. He's a great decelerator, a great accelerator. He's an amazing lateral speed athlete, amazing vertically, incredible length, and just like a well-parented kid, like he's got great life skills, all those things. And we're like, this guy, how is he going to miss? So he was one of our most recent. I'll tell you what we should do. I'll tell you what we should do is we should do this in May.
Yeah.
And let's talk about a couple guys, because there's going to be a couple guys that people don't know are going to be elite NBA players.
What about Şengün? I went on Lebitard and I said Şengün, based on his production at the Turkish league at 18 years old, he should have been the number 1 overall pick in his class. And they were thinking I'm crazy. And I'm like, no, this kid, what he was doing at 17 years old, dominating the game against big men is crazy. And it's one of the top leagues in the world. And he was the MVP. And he fell to outside the lottery. And I think you guys have assessed him. And he looks like he's got what we would call a dad bod. He's not super cut. I wouldn't say he's got, Giannis level body fat, but he's going to be an all-star this year along with Jalen Williams. And it seems like he's another guy that is misunderstood in terms of the way he moves and how he leverages that to be a great basketball player. Is that another player?
Yeah. Those guys, we just did a New York Times piece. Do you see that? The dad bod piece? No, you didn't read it. You have kids. You're busy with this work. But the article was, I think it was titled like "Dad Bods" in Pro Sports or something like that. And it was a great take on this thing that I told you guys earlier that I was really interested in. That's these second order performance metrics. The easiest thing to see in an athlete is how high does he jump and how fast does he run. But there's no relationship between jumping high, as measured at the NBA Combine, and having a productive NBA career. There's zero relationship. It's been investigated a bunch of times. A bunch of grad students have taken this thing on. It's just, there's no relationship, no correlation at all between jumping high and having a successful NBA career once you're at a certain level. Şengün, Şengün spent a full off season with us 2 years ago. He got more work in than anybody we had that off season. And I love this kid. I love him the first time we assessed him. He makes a case for these movers that we call kinematic movers. You may have heard me talk about it, Tom, possibly me. But when we take all the data that we collect on these players and we put it into a machine, we put it in a computer and have the computer do this machine learning exercise on the data, it clusters players based on all these small movements we collect into similarities. So it has all these little clusters placed all over the place. And people end up clustered that you would never think would be clustered together. And our favorite cluster is this cluster called kinematic movers. We call them kinematic movers because they're efficient movers, but they don't do anything really, really well. Nothing that would catch your eye and you say, oh my God, look at that system. That guy's going to be an NBA player. A lot of these guys go to small schools. A lot of them, are mid-second round picks or undrafted. And they have the highest win shares of any one of these clusters that the computer draws up. They're the most successful NBA players. And Şengün is one of these players. He can do anything we ask of him. You want him to slide left, slide right, rotate left, first jump, second jump. He jumps not high. He's not as bad as Jokic, who was our worst jumper we've ever assessed. But Jokic is the other guy of two bigs that we've assessed that are towards the kinematic movers. So they're usually small guys like CJ McCollum is a kinematic mover. Trae Young is a kinematic mover. The first time the young Luka is a kinematic mover. First time we assessed Luka, he's a kinematic mover. Or before he got in the NBA, he's a kinematic mover. We assessed him a few times before he got in the NBA. So Şengün is one of these guys. He can do anything we ask of him, but he doesn't do anything spectacularly well. We think of him as the Swiss Army knives of athletes. They don't have any feature that is really overwhelmingly great, but they can do everything. And what I love is it points to the fact that if you have the right tool for the job the exact right tool for the job in every environment on an NBA court, you can be a really successful player. There's only a few athletes in our lifetimes that will be LeBron James or Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is off the charts, laterally, vertically, like one of the more ridiculous athletes we've ever assessed. Everybody can see that's that freakishness, right? That's incredible system that he's got. But there's lots of really, really successful athletes that have so much less horsepower than he does, but they can do everything. They have all these different movement properties embedded and available. It's like a 30 blade Swiss Army knife. Anthony Edwards he doesn't have a single blade. Zion might have a single blade, but Anthony Edwards only has a few blades. And they're great, all of them. But Şengün, Jokic, CJ McCollum, he's got the right blade for the right job. None of them are that big, not crazy sharp, but the right blade for the job.
Well, we got to do this again in May. We're going to take you up on that, Marcus.
Let's do it. That's one of my. So there's no way that ends up being a bad thing for these guys that we call out. They can only be good. We've helped get a lot of guys drafted that I think weren't going to get drafted by doing the same thing. We don't do it in the media usually, but we can do it. You guys are deep basketball people, so let's try that. Let's do it. It'll be a fun exercise, and I'll tell you exactly what it is about their systems and why they'll work. Okay. Sometimes we find guys that they can be elite perimeter defenders in the NBA that have never defended in their lives because they're volume scorers in college. They didn't need to be defenders, but they have the systems. And you would never know that they would have the system because you've never seen it. But we can see it. So those are some of my favorite IDs.
I can't wait.
Yes, I'm excited.
Systems.
Marcus Elliott, the kinematic mover of this podcast. Thank you so much for hopping on with us. We're going to do this again in a couple months, maybe even sooner. We love having you on always and appreciate you taking the time, Marcus.
You guys are solid. I appreciate you.